bar. I can use this for sweeping. There's a lot of different opportunities I have from that position. Now, if he doesn't do either of these things, okay, he's holding tight and I'm blocking, and as I scoot in, I notice that I'm able to scoot his knees together. I've made a strong enough wedge around his legs that his knees are touching. I reach around and I grab the pit of my knee. Now, to get a strong bridge, we're gonna take a look at what I'm doing with my head here. I'm gonna open my head up. You see how I look where I wanna put him? I don't just start bridging here. I open my spine and I use my leg to bridge his shoulder into that empty space. Now we're in a fall. I just take my left leg off the floor and he's gonna counterbalance me right to the top where I can finish the sweep.
All right, so we talked about arm position. We talked about green light, red light, yellow light. We talked about proper bridging mechanics and how this can create an off balance in our opponent to increase our ability to make space, to pummel into a better position, or to recover with our legs. Or if the guy's like oblivious to what's going on, sometimes they let you bring their knees together and you can just sweep over the top and hitchhike to the top. All of these are things that you should not be in the habit of forcing. A good example or perspective is you can't find leverage on something that's not rigid. If you took a wet blanket out of your washing machine, you can take a crowbar and put it under the blanket and you're not going to find leverage on the blanket. But if you put the blanket back in the washing machine and you put the crowbar in the washing machine, you'll be able to lift the washing machine. So when you find a rigid body, look for the spot that you can put the crowbar in. Don't just start smashing yourself against it, trying to force what you want. Look for that point to put that crowbar in and find a way to lift using leverage all the time. This is going to increase your timing and give you an understanding of finesse, and not just getting something in your head that you want to happen and looking at what's presented to you in a way that you can work with. All right, guys. So let's talk about what it means first to get this bicep time. So we're here, we're checking, right? My arm is stuck to the outside, yeah? And again, I'm in red light and I know that. So my first goal before I do any kind of fancy sweep or extra like crazy stuff exposing my arm, because this just makes me feel like I'm going to get tapped, is I want to get my arms into a better position. So when I do this bridge, whether he posts this arm or not, I'll give you two examples. One, I scoot in, and as I start to bridge here, I just off-center him. I'm able to bring one hand in. And even if he settles back down, at least I got from a red to a yellow light, and that's a good battle for me to win, because I know now that I can use this to make him uncomfortable and pummel my hand back into a green light position, which is my ultimate goal. The other thing that happens is sometimes when I do this bridge, he posts this hand to the floor, boom, and I get an inside bicep tie, and I bring my hand across to his deltoid. Now let's just talk about positioning from side control here. There's two directions, or two things I want to focus on this arm, not to mention, as I'm making space with this arm, I can start to bring this knee in, which can feed to this knee, which is going to let me do things like a cover guard. Or if I just get one knee in, I can start to elongate my body, which is going to put me in positions that I can start climbing down for triangles or omoplatas, things like that, because I have an arm left behind. But when I get to that bicep tie position here, I want you to understand that this is a lever against his arm, okay? Now, if I'm holding this, as long as he can't, go ahead and put weight on me. He cannot properly put that shoulder down as long as I'm holding the top of that lever. Now, you're going to have guys that cut over top of it and do all sorts of stuff, and there's answers for that. But I just want you to understand that in a raw sense, he can't put weight on me as long as I'm controlling the top of that lever. If I'm in his bicep, he tries to put pressure on me. It's going to be difficult for him to settle because he needs to get this arm across my body or under my head. Okay? Now, oftentimes when I'm low on his wrist like that, I'll slip and try to catch his hand or inside his thumb with the hand. Sometimes I just catch my thumb over the elbow here, boom. And what I'm trying to do is as I bridge, I'm going to try to get his wrist to bend, and I'm starting to lift at the wrist to get that reaction where it feels like a wrist lock. Maybe if I reached up and caught his elbow, I could tap, but in general, I'm just using the leverage of his wrist to push him away from me. Since this guy's moving around, he's trying to put pressure on me, and I find the ability to bend that wrist, I can start to lift his weight up high enough to push him across my body. Sometimes he'll sit through into like a scarf hold, okay? And now this is a different scenario, but I still keep this leverage because if I'm grabbing him, he can't grab me. He has to use his hips to start scooting, and this is where I'm starting to get on my side and work my escape. The other perspective here is as I have this bicep tie, he wants to go wide with his arm, okay? And this is where I'm going to do a pass off. As his arm opens up, I cross my forearm behind, and I'm going to take my leg, and as I pass it across, I'm going to bump and try to get his arm trapped on the inside, and then I can go back to that same bridging motion. So what that's going to look like is this. We're going to get a bicep tie as our partner passes across. I cross these bones. I'm going to bump my leg as I bring my arm across, and I get a nice deep trap. I'm going to do the same motion I did before. I block his leg, I scoot in, and then we're just going to bridge over the top. And I'm going to come up to a top position with the arm trapped. All right, so we talked about using our bridge to get our arm in, right? And we talked about our bridge and deep posts to get both in, right? And again, I can start recovering guard from here. If he starts going wide with that arm, I can start passing that across, and I use my knee to help me trap the head. See how I bump his armpit? And as I bump, I punch my arm through so I get a nice deep bite with my elbow. I can S grip here. If you have long enough arms, you can straight up figure four here. Okay. Now I'm going back to create that base blocking, and I can start to walk my legs in and try to off balance my partner. All right. Now, if I'm only able to get my hand that's in the red zone in, I start to bridge, boom. When I off balance in here and I bring this arm in, I'm going to do a second bridge. So what I do is I use this outside leg, I elevate again like a strong bridge, inside femur is still crossing his femur, and I shoot this arm underneath. And I get a nice deep underhook here. And the beauty of the underhook is as the guy tries to put weight here, I'm able to redirect him by everything I'm doing right now is crossing bones against his bones. Okay, and I can shoot out the back here. I can start to bring his weight on top of me. Okay, and we're going to talk about some of the pitfalls in that position. But I think it's extremely valuable for you guys to get the underhook. I think it's one of the strongest escapes that you can work. Now, we're going to start working with this bridge, boom, pummeling in. Okay, now my hand's in the yellow zone. I'm holding his shoulder down here to take some pressure off, and I bridge, boom. Okay, now I can make a decision here. I bring my hand into this green zone, boom, okay? And because I'm in this green zone, I know it's going to be hard for him to keep pressure on top of me. But because he's under my head, it's still going to be awkward for me to turn right into him. So the direction I'm going, instead of pushing him horizontal, is I'm pushing him above my head. So when he starts to push weight down, I use my brain to slide him up. I can kick and come right out to the back. I can